Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Stream in Terror. Welcome, Sydney, Duchess of Darkness, and Dr. Torment. Thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. Yes, I forgot the O in hello, and yes, I guess I'm your guys' failure. So welcome, everyone. Go ahead, and I do have a poll for what we should do this evening. Whether I should just do live reading, play Dead Space, or do a little bit of both. But I wanted to get a little bit of talking out of the way first. And also see how you guys are doing. What you guys been up to? Got any plans? Anyone ruin your plans? Hello, Bobby. Welcome back. See, I can't mess up as well as bad when I speak it because, that's not a lie. That's a lie. That's totally a lie. I mess up when I speak all the time. There's a lots of little bloopers that I have. Heck, you guys haven't heard it, but the latest video actually has a, mistake in it that I caught, and I'm not going back and re-uploading it. It can just stay forever. It's just there. It is definitely tied. Okay, we got live reading. Playing dead. Someone's playing with their buttons. We're still tied on live reading, then play Dead Space, or just play Dead Space. Live reading is not winning this one alone, it seems. Though I haven't played Dead Space in quite a while, so. I don't even think I remember the controls. That's fine. It's just something we're gonna play every once in a while. I'm not good at it. I've never been very good at horror games. Which is funny, because I like to read horror. I'm not very good at playing horror. So you guys have any plans this weekend? Anything you're planning to do? I know one day is down, but one to go. Any Sunday plans, guys? Unless it is Sunday where you are. Got any plans for today? Also, I mostly have my voice back. Oh, apparently it rained all day for Sydney. I'm sorry, it's been muggy here too, but it is May long weekend. Oh, I guess that wouldn't be a thing in the States. Fight the necromorphs? Fair. Yeah, sorry, I just realized, you don't know what May long weekend means. It's a Canadian thing, so. I don't think you guys have a stat to this week. A holiday on the 20th like we do in Canada. It was only in the 60s. That's not terrible. Well, actually, that's pretty nice weather. Hello, September Dragon Audio. Excuse me, sorry. Hello, September Dragon Audio. I did just get off work, so I'm going to be a little tired. And now everything's completely tied. Well, I'm just gonna keep talking at you guys until someone picks something. But everyone's voted that's been here so far. We're gonna just say use the weirdest voices I can think of. The stupid voices that makes the people come, I guess. Remember to hit that like button and make sure it feels it. Hopefully you guys aren't hearing my roommates too much. Oh. We lost someone apparently. Oh, guys. We lost someone else. Oh, darn. Okay, so. Hey, Kimberly. Oh, that's fine, Kimberly. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, it seems like the live read took it in the end. Apparently, I should have grabbed coffee. That probably would have been a good idea. All of a sudden, I'm yawning. I was perfectly fine. Hello, Ronan. Welcome. Oh, and so Horror in the Rocks is doing live right now, and so is MCT, Miss Creepy Tales. But I had to pick a time that worked for me, and I couldn't let other people dictate what time that was, sadly. So this is literally the first time I can come live for sure. I might be able to do it earlier on some Saturdays, but due to my work schedule, I don't get off work until an hour ago, so I have to give myself time to get home. So, and I don't want to drive like a maniac more than I do. I do drive like a maniac sometimes. So I am crazy at times. Okay, let's see here. I'm getting myself lost. Okay. Okay, guys, glitch in the Matrix, because live reading won in the end. For now, at least. With some votes. So, I'm going to at least... Alright, guys. Move that there. That's okay, Kimberly. At least you're home and you can do some laundry. And I guess listen to me narrate stories. Alright. So, this is a glitch in the Matrix. Missing phone for 2 hours returns itself. Alright, so this happened a few months ago at work. I'm a restaurant manager, and we're having a normal day. I usually keep my phone on a shelf that's not really accessible to customers, but it is in an open area in the restaurant that customers can see. It's about 6 feet off the ground, and I'm not tall enough to actually be able to see the shelf. I just tiptoe to reach it. It's a small shelf with 2 decorative items on it, but nothing else. I put my phone in its regular spot and I go about my day. About an hour later, I go to check my phone and I couldn't find it. I figured that I put it somewhere else, so I began looking, but it was nowhere to be found. I go and ask my staff, and they all say that they haven't seen it. I started to panic now, thinking maybe a customer watched me put it up there and waited to steal it. So I have everyone do a quick look and get a taller staff to physically check, and gone is gone. My sister has my location tracker on iMessage, so I called her via the store phone to ask if she could see it anywhere. She looks and says that location is available. My phone must have been turned off. She sends me a few messages pleading for whoever has it to return it, and none of them got delivered. About 30 minutes after talking to my sister, I started calling the owners so that they could review the security footage to determine who took it, or if it ended up moving, it somewhere weird. And my sister calls. These people are incredibly not friendly, and I avoid talking to them at all costs, and they have not answered my calls at this point, so I hang up and answer my sister. She says, "Your phone just turned back on. I have been monitoring it, and it looks like it's right outside." I go outside and don't see anything obvious, like someone holding it or anything, so I go back in. Right there on the shelf that myself and at least 8 other people have checked at least 20 plus times is my phone. It's blatantly on the counter, exactly where I remember putting it. Dumbfounded, I asked every single person on shift about it, and they swear up and down they didn't have or touched it. I love and trust these people and generally believe them. This occurred in a 2-hour span. I was so relieved to have found it that I kind of just went on about my day, but I still get weirded out thinking about it. I regret not calling the owners and asking them to retrieve the footage. Again, I really avoid them whenever I can. But damn, I want to know if it was just a blip out of existence for a couple hours. Anyone have anything similar happen to them? I don't know, that was yeah, if my phone disappeared, I would be mortified. I don't even know what I would do if my phone blimped out of existence for 2 hours. I actually wear a watch that would tell me that my phone's nowhere near me, so I would know it right away, but yeah, that would totally suck. So you guys having a good night? I know that I'm been joined by and competing with other narrators for your time, so thank you so much for joining me, guys. That's good to hear, Rowan. You're having a good night so far? Good night. Yes, good. Well, you're like, what? It's like 2 a.m. there, Dr. Torment? Mr. I'm on the other side of the whole world. Well, that's nice you got your kids to bed, September. You gotta do whatever you need to do then. 3:46 a.m. actually. Did you stay up just to hear my live stream, Dr. Torment, or are you waking up? Or you just weird and don't like to sleep normal times where you live? Yes, to which thing I said, Dr. Termit? I said 3 things. Yes, to all 3. I have stayed up but also just woke up, and I don't like sleeping at regular times. I don't know. Apparently it's gonna rain here tonight. Yeah, I'll be acting. We always could use some rain. Keep the fires away. Always be fires soon. Oh. I'm currently folding the kids' wash. That's smart, September. Well, you can listen to me while you do that. I found another story, so I'm just gonna... It's just a true story. No specific subreddit. Just true scary stories. It's a bit longer, so... Horrifying experience at a bus stop, and it's a throwaway account. Hello Reddit, this is my first time posting on this site in years. For context on this story, I am a 19-year-old girl residing in East London. 2 weeks ago, I was on a night out in my town, which I won't name. However, it is on the eastern outskirts of Greater London. It was a cold Friday night in early May when I began to walk home. By this time, I was heavily drunk and had split off from my friend Sierra and Marcus, who were also blackout drunk. They took the Elizabeth line to get home to their university digs in Harrow. So I was left all by myself. As I began to walk to the bus stop, which wasn't far from the club, I noticed a tall, skinny man with his hands in his head in his hands sitting on a red plastic bench at the stop. I couldn't see much of his face as it was obscured by his long, dark, brown, messy hair. I sat down on the bench furthest away from him because it was 1 a.m. and the area was deserted, and honestly, this guy was giving me the creeps. He was wearing a dark brown leather bomber jacket, green cargos, and a Mayhem band t-shirt. I sat and waited for the bus for around 5 minutes, scrolling through TikTok, when suddenly my focus was interrupted by the sound of sobbing coming from my left. I turned to see the man, head still in his hands, sobbing uncontrollably. I glanced at the man several times before making my decision. I scooted over to him and put my hand on his shoulder. Keep in mind, I was still in a drunk-induced confidence social set. He looked up at me, He looked at me. Admittedly, I thought he was quite handsome. That was until I was hit by his breath, which was foul stench, a mixture of cigarettes, vomit, and tooth decay. He had thick, furry, dark eyebrows, short yet unkempt stubble, tears rolling down his face. I asked him, "Hey, are you alright?" At this point, his facial expression changed, and he let out a loud smoker's cough, covering his mouth with his elbow. Wiping his tears away with the same elbow, he looked me in the eyes and simply said, "I've hurt a lot of people." At this point, starting to sense the vibe was off, I asked, "What do you mean?" I felt the alcohol starting to lose its effects on me, and I regretted interacting with this man at all. He told me plainly, "I've killed someone." At this moment, my heart sunk to the bottom of my chest. I thought he must be joking or lying. I timidly said, "Wait, what?" I was choking on my words. He went on to confess that he had killed a 17-year-old boy after arranging a gay encounter with him over Grindr. He told me that he had stabbed the boy in the neck with a screwdriver before burning his body in the woods with lighter fluid. I stood there aghast at the sudden confession when I saw the headlights of the night bus approaching in the distance. Without hesitating, I boarded, tapped my pass, and looked back. He did not follow me on. The bus slammed shut. I ride the bus only for around 4 stops before reaching my house. As I step out from the bus, I look to my left only to see the dark figure with long, dark hair running towards me down the street. I book it towards my house, shove the key into the lock before slamming the door shut and screaming for my mom. That night, I dreamt of the encounter in vivid detail. And followed the following night, and the night after, and even the night after. However, as the nights went on, I would see the act of murder in his eyes, as if it was a projection. The dream would pause as he looked up at me, and then the pause would be longer each night, seeing more vivid detail reflected from his dark green eyes. The dream stopped around a week after the experience, but I was left deeply disturbed. What unsettled me the most was his voice, robotic and deep, sound almost distorted as I dreamt of him more and more. My last dream was on the night of the 11th of May, a Saturday night. I was awoken to a complete paralyzing of my body. I heard as clear as day from across the room, "There wasn't just one victim." There wasn't just one victim, loudly in a female voice. I made my official police report today on the 18th of May, 2024, and I was given a reference number. The police told me they would try and identify the man as he was caught on CCTV walking past the club I was at several times at night, which ironically is opposite of the police station. And that's the end of that story. That is horrifying. Welcome, Beth! Wife! Wife is here! Yes, Horror the Rocks I have heard before does have a good singing voice. And Catamus, welcome! And we're all tied again. Welcome, guys. Welcome. Yeah, I couldn't imagine having a guy crying next to you, so you want to comfort him, and then find out he killed some poor teenage boy and burned his body, and what are you supposed to do to that except for get the hell out of Dodge? Hopefully find out who that guy is and arrest him. And he did say he's hurt people, not a person, like not just a person. So you know it's not the only victim. That one sounds interesting. We'll do that one next. Just 1 second, guys. I gotta blow my nose. I try not to do that with the mic on, because that's rude. And also not a very pleasant sound to hear. So it's not clearing my throat, but yeah, it is what it is. Remember to hit that like button, guys, if you haven't already. Subscribe if you're new. All that jazz. Though I'm not seeing many new faces. I recognize you guys. Including wife. And fuck rock. It was someone we used to play Among Us together. And the chaos that was. No kidding, the fuck rock. I forget who broke that rule too. One of the people that became the imposter broke that rule at some point. Alright. I did pick out another story that actually sounds interesting to me, so just the title got me, so don't know if it's going to be interesting because I'm not pre-reading these. I'm reading them to you as I go. The mystery of our hometown. So this happened 2 to 3 years ago, and I remember it. Remember it was Ed McCarbrook, which is a holiday for Muslims. Okay, I'm sorry, I definitely would have said that wrong. And in my country, Indonesia, there's a tradition that you can go to your hometown with your family. I live in a city called Bogor, and my hometown is a city called Shirbo. Sorry again if I mispronounce anything. So me and my family are going back home this year. And we plan that we will also meet our extended family in my grandparents' house. Probably meant great grandparents' house. I thought it was going to be fun, not horror, but things started to get weird when we arrived in our great grandparents' house about 4 p.m. We see a bunch of people. We eat, we meet, and we play. And at 5 p.m., me and my cousins, let's say that their names are Josh, Dode, Randy, and Melody, decide to go to my grandfather's cemetery. Not all of our cousins want to visit the cemetery, but we are the only ones that dare to visit the cemetery. We have to take a route to a very small road and walk to the woods. So we arrive and we see some of our families in the prayer in our grandparents' grave. Some of the family is in there are praying in our grandparents' grave. Josh, Dird, and Melody is joining our family to pray, but besides the cemetery is a dark forest, and me and Randy go a little bit naughty and decide to explore the forest a little bit. But I think we go too far, and we heard a terrible scream like, "Curse him." Then Randy saw a black shadow and red eyes behind a tree. We were not moving, and we almost had a heart attack because the shadow that we just saw was super tall, like maybe 6 meters. Also, I think that the shadow was a mythological monster from Indonesia called Gurniru. And lately, people said that there was a child that was kidnapped by a ghost there. But in January of 2024, in our great-grandparents' house, I got information that there was a voodoo doll in the house's backyard. And I think of the scream, "Curse him," is related to that voodoo doll. What do you guys think? Interesting. Everyone is in the basement now. We're with Kimberly in the basement. All I can think of is, you got a ball so I can throw it for Lulu? My dog used to love going to the basement because it was wide open and we used to throw the ball for her all the time. It's not like that anymore, but that's what goes through my head. Huh. That one just sound interesting too. I think I'm just going to read you guys just stuff from the subreddit True Scary Stories. There seems to be some pretty interesting titles at least. Not the basement. Everyone's in the basement. There's also a phoenix fire in a cage. Be careful. Yeah, my basement's not finished. That's why. It used to be, and then there was a flood and everything got pulled out, so it's no longer a finished basement. But that's fine. There's no water damage. It all got properly taken care of, which was good. Apparently September's doesn't have a basement. Technically it's your mother-in-law's basement. That's fine. A basement's a basement. Depending on where you live, not every place is able to have basements, and some places don't have basements. I know and I know September does not live in Florida, but I know if you live in Florida, you will never ever have a basement due to basically it being a giant sandbar. I can look if I see gas station stories. I'm gonna read this one and then I'll look for a gas station actually. Let's see. Do, 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 do. Yeah, found one. So I'll read it afterwards. It's a short one, but. God damn it! The rest of y'all got basements. I think you live in an apartment, Dr. Torment. We had to take the basements away from you. We know what you would do with them, Dr. Torment. You're not allowed the basement anymore. Alright. So this one just, the title got me. Every night they come. The story of a psychopath. Hello, I'm John. I've spent 35 years working in a mental hospital. In that time, I've seen people lose their sanity after experiencing horrifying and unnatural events. Upon hearing their chilling tales, I realized these are genuine accounts. To safeguard against legal repercussions, I will share these stories without divulging names or locations, as some are highly classified. James' story. We were newly married and we bought our new home. We were very happy with the purchase of the house. After a while, I was at work. Sarah called me and she was very afraid. She said there were voices in the basement. Oh, darn it, Kimberly, the basement again. Sorry. So I told her, maybe it's rats. That's it, the sound of water or anything else. After that, I hung up the phone and finished my work and went home to check the sounds. I did not hear anything. Sarah entered the basement with me and did not hear anything as well. She was reassured by that. We continued our daily lives. After 2 days, Sarah heard voices again and I was at work once more. Sarah went to the basement alone. She became curious. She said, I went down to the basement. I did not hear anything at first. Then after that, Sarah heard the sound of breathing close to her ear. She turned around and saw something scary. I don't know what it was. She hurried up the stairs of the basement, closed the door, and grabbed the door handle because someone was trying to open it forcefully, and she was screaming out of fear. Then that thing left the door. She ran quickly out of the house, and my wife called me. I came quickly and called the police. They searched the basement and did not see anything. I thought Sarah was imagining things because she was alone in the house. In the middle of the night, while we were in the bedroom, I heard screaming in the house. Sarah was next to me, terrified. I went forward to open the door to the room, but I could not. It was as if there was someone holding the door tightly and the screams continued. After that, the screaming stopped and the door opened. I searched the house, but did not find anyone in the house. Continued story in my account is what says at the end here. Hold on one sec, please. So we're gonna see if I can. This has been removed a few times from different. This person posted the same story to a few places, but I That's it. That's the end of it, sadly, guys. Sorry. That was the end of the story. Sorry, I was just trying to see if I could find anything else. I ain't got no basement either, eh? Says Ron. See, not everyone has basements. Anyone that's new that hasn't, please remember to like the stream. Alright, so this one's for Kimberly. My gas station experience. It was posted a few years ago anyway, so. Backstory. This happened to me about 3 years ago, so this happened 6 years ago, just to be clear. I was a few months pregnant at the time. My belly was visibly noticeable in fitted shirts, but in flowy shirts you couldn't tell. This is relevant in the story. Sorry. I had taken my car into the dealership to have a recall fixed, and the dealership gave me a rental vehicle. In order to not be charged an extra fee, I needed to bring the vehicle back with a full tank of gas. So I had stopped at the gas station that is directly across the street from the dealership to fill it up. I parked at the farthest pump because it was the closest to the exit that would lead to the dealership. I was the only person filling up on that side of the station. I was standing next to the car and pumping, waiting for the tank to be filled, when a man in a large truck drove up to the opposite side of the pump. He pulled up far enough that his truck was blocking all the other people on the other side of the gas station, but not far enough that he would be able to pump gas. He rolled down his window and asked me where a store was. Can't remember which store it was, he was asking. I pointed in the direction and told him which way to go. He continued saying, "I'm not from around here. Can you show me on a map?" He held up his phone. At this point, I had started to feel that something was not right. Why would he need to ask for directions if he had a smartphone with a GPS? Why couldn't he just look it up himself? So I continued with telling him what directions he needed to be heading and where to turn. At this point, he almost got a little aggressive and annoyed in his tone. He said to me, "No, come over here and to my car and show me." I had said something like, "No, need to, because it's just down the street." He told me again to come to him in his car. Again, I declined, and he said, "Come over here now, and I'll come over there." When he said this, and I could hear the aggression in his tone, I got scared, and I grabbed my belly, and I quickly grabbed my belly and said, "No." He then realized that I was pregnant and suddenly just sped off. I don't know what his intentions were, but I do feel in my gut that it was something bad. I think the fact that I was pregnant saved me from whatever he was planning. I still to this day get nervous when I have to get gas, and I always make sure I'm near others. Yeah, that's scary. That's absolutely terrifying. I don't know what he was planning at all, but it wasn't anything good. And you're welcome, Kimberly. I don't even know why I gave him a southern accent. Just to be clear, I just thought that would be funny to give him an accent that was really, really southern. I don't know why I like to do southern accents every once in a while. I'm trying to see if I can find another story for you guys. Real quick. Sydney, are you still here or did you leave? My neighbor, the priest. Oh. That looks interesting. Let's do that one. I don't know. I throw random accents every once in a while because I think it spices things up a little bit. Maybe Sydney did leave. I mean, she did have lots of other live streams she could go to. Alright. My neighbor, the priest. And this is a newer one. That one was just, I looked it up to find it, so. Sorry for my bad grammar. I'm not good at writing, but I wanted to share this. Around a year ago, I, 15 female, at the time lived in a smallish house with my single mother. My mom is a very bubbly woman who can start a conversation with anyone and is loved by everyone. I remember one morning hearing her talk to someone outside my bedroom window, just shrugged it off. I eventually went downstairs and asked who she was talking to. Find out she was talking to our new neighbor. She was very sympathetic towards him as she described him as a very old. She was around 95 and lived by himself, a nurse coming to visit him a few times a month. My mom also found out while talking to him that he had no family members as they had all passed, so it really was just him. She also mentioned that he was a priest, which I found quite creepy. A few weeks had passed by, and my mom had been the kind of woman who cut our neighbor's grass for him and would usually strike up conversations out of pity. I just want to mention that I never saw the man once, and I just heard about him through my mother's daily ramblings. My house had a window at the top of the stairs that if you looked out of the faced the priest's house, and as there was almost identically built there was a window facing right back at ours. Again, I never saw this man, only his dim landing lights on. I now had been around 3 months since I had heard about the priest. This one night, I will never forget, around 1 a.m., I gone downstairs to get something to eat, and on my journey back up the stairs into my bedroom, I looked out the landing window out to just pure instinct. There, on the opposite side, was the old man, his hands gripping the baluster as he helped himself up the stairs. The lighting was terrible, but he was very skinny, as old people usually are. Being nosy, I stood there for a moment, wanting to get a good look at him. He was hunched over slightly as he struggled, almost carrying his own body weight, and I swore I could see the ridges of his spine throughout his shirt as he hobbled out of view of the window. Not to be mean, but this freaked the fuck out of me. I immediately went to my room trying to get that disturbing image out of my head before I fell asleep. Around a week, maybe 2 later, the priest's nurse showed up at our door asking if we had seen him recently, as she was unable to get into his house as it was completely locked and sealed. She hadn't heard from him for over 4 months and was getting concerned for his well-being. I wasn't at home to tell her I had seen him in the window as I was at school, so my mother just said that she hadn't heard from him either. The nurse called the police, who broke down his door. I was just walking home as I reached my house, the police giving another blow at the door with like the pull thing. The ram. I didn't really know what it was called, but it's called a ram. When the door finally came down, the smell that left that house could make anyone's toes curl. All I can describe is as it was when your cat brings home a mouse and it dies under your couch without you knowing. Rushing inside, I immediately went up to my room, peering out the bedroom window, watching the police enter his house, covering their noses. I don't really remember what happened after that exactly, but when they wheeled his body out in a black bag and into the back of the van. It was sad, really. I'd never gotten to speak to him, and I now felt guilty for being so horrified by his appearance. My mom also distraught by his passing and was talking to the police outside. The house took weeks to be cleared, as when he had died, all the windows and doors, of course, were shut, keeping the smell locked in. And a dead body really reeks. When the police left and the street went silent again, I found myself spending more time with my mom downstairs. She'd always been religious, so as we spoke, she lit a candle for him out of respect and to help him pass into heaven. Bringing up the putrid smell, I asked her what the police told her, and what she told me has stuck with me ever since that day. They said he had died a few months ago and had been found decomposing in his bed. At first, I just shrugged this off when she spoke. Yeah, it was disturbing, but more sad nobody had noticed his disappearance. But then it clicked. If he had died a few months ago, who was it that I saw through that window? I mentioned this to my mother. She also knew I never saw or spoke to him while he was alive, so she asked him what he looked like. Wispy white hair and bony hunched. I still remember her face dropping from a blush pink to a pale white. We moved out a month later. This story isn't that interesting, as I haven't had many scary paranormal things happen to me, but it's a true story, so I hope you enjoyed. So he's still moving around in that house even as a ghost. Poor guy. Hey Dark Horse Tales, welcome in Duchess of Darkness. I like the accents. I only got a few of them, and I know my British one ain't that great, but I try to throw a little bit on. But yes, that poor guy was definitely still stuck in that house, and that is disheartening. That no one, well, it's not that no one noticed he was gone for 4 months, is that no red alerts happened for 4 months. Because that woman had realized, I guess, after a little bit that she hadn't seen him, but it's, that is just heartbreaking to know that he had no loved ones and no one really caught on, and yeah. Maybe I'm a sob heart. Just, yeah. He did seem to have people that cared about him. I just wish it had been sooner that they realized. That's all. Actually, this one caught my eye too. So I'm just doing random ones in the true scary stories subreddit. So I have lived with a ghost my entire life. Here is a true haunted house story that a gentleman by the name of Kenneth emailed to me last week that I'm currently working on to narrate. This is one creepy story. I hope you enjoy. Well, Sinister John, I'm going to narrate it for my people, so I'm going to beat you to it. I'm just kidding. Okay. I've been living in a house that is very haunted for the better part of 53 years. I guess you could say that I grew up here, and I lived here my entire life. And I've made a happy home for my wife and daughter here as well. At least we try to make it as a happy home. We experience things that are so bizarre you'd almost think that we were crazy for ever talking about them. Never mind the things I've heard and seen in this house while growing up. While I would love to talk about everything that has happened here, I would like to tell you about how it all started for me when I was 7 years old. It's actually the very first instance of this encounter while living here. The house was built in 1875. It's been remodeled throughout the years to keep up with the modern times, but it still rests on the very foundations it was built on. This house, as I'm writing this, I can hear footsteps creaking above me on the second floor. This is an all-day thing, and we've learned to live with it. While growing up here and being the only child, my parents already knew about the house being haunted, but they tried sheltering me from but they tried to shelter me from it. Meaning, if I heard something strange, my father and mother would say something like, "Oh, honey, those darn pipes again. We need to call the plumber." Or if there was footsteps creaking on the floorboards, they would blame the floor for being very old. I could hear scratching all throughout the walls and ceilings, all sort of strange and bizarre sounds. But this instance, this day, changed everything. And I remember this day, or rather night, as it had happened yesterday. It was around 11 at night. It was a school night, and I was asleep, but something woke me up. I heard a voice whisper in my right ear, "We can't let them get away." My eyes slowly opened up, and I lay there for a moment. I called out for both my mother and father and looked over at my bedroom door, but it was shut. I flipped over to my side and fell back asleep. I heard the voice loud and clear. I know I did, but I think my brain was telling me to ignore it. Well, that was just the beginning of it, because a few moments later I decided to really stir things up. It decided to really stir things up with me. "Boy, help them, they're burning alive." I jumped out of bed so rapidly and even peed myself as I ran to my parents' bedroom. My parents both looked at each other and then looked at me like they knew something but didn't want to tell me. They gave me the old mumbo jumbo and told me I was having a bad dream. My mother got out of bed, got me fresh PJs and socks while I cleaned myself up. Peeing yourself at 7 years old isn't fun, especially when it's a rapsy old scary voice shouting that someone's burning alive in your bedroom while you're asleep. My mother asked if I wanted to sleep with her and father in the bed after that. You bet my ass I did. I hopped in the bed quicker than a fox chasing a rabbit. I was a small boy for 7, and both of my parents were average size too, so I fit right in there. Alright, here's where it gets very, very scary. If this doesn't scare the socks off of you, I don't know what will. And before I continue, the voice that I heard, we think it's the original owner of the house. Without giving away too much information about my house, the very first owner of this house, he was an evil man. We've heard stories about him torturing animals, killing them, and then taxiderming them, scattering them all throughout the house like his own little museum of horror. Throughout the years, I would experience more voices, more scratching on the walls and ceilings. Eventually, my parents would end up telling me about the house and that it was haunted by a creepy man with an evil past. And we lived with it. We were never physically harmed by it, and it was more of a nauseating thing than anything. That all changed on the night I brought my wife home to begin a life here with me. We're high school sweethearts, so she knows about the place. She stayed here overnight plenty of times before we got married. But on the night she moved in, it wasn't happy at all. I'll never forget the hour and minute. It was 2:27 in the morning. We were both asleep. My wife woke up first because she felt something tugging on her arm. She then woke me up and told me that what she was feeling. That was the first time in all the years anyone has ever been physically touched by this spirit. This had never happened before, so it was quite a shock to me. And after being awake for about a few minutes or so, our bedroom door slammed shut. Our blankets were pulled away from us and thrown across the room, and we heard heavy footsteps if someone was walking across the roof. It was as if the house was coming to life. In all my years of living here, I have never seen this much activity, yet alone in one single night. After the blankets got pulled away from us and thrown across the room, things finally seemed to calm down, and the entire house was ominously quiet. Too quiet. But then a dark, black shadow decided to grace us with its presence by moving along the wall in the bedroom and faded into nothingness. My wife and I did not move from that bedroom during all of this. We were terror-stricken, and then a foul odor began to come from underneath the bed, followed by some growls that reverberated beneath us. By this point, it felt like something grave was about to happen, and I had to do something, or at least I had to try to. I grabbed hold of my wife's hand and told her to be brave and to not fear this thing, because that's what it wanted. It wanted to scare us out of our home, and we can't allow that to happen. But we mustered up the courage to face this evil spirit and began reciting the Lord's Prayer. The bedroom door slammed again and again, 4 times consecutively, with the steady growls underneath the bed, and we stood our ground, praying to the Almighty to help us and ask Him to show this spirit the light. A raspy voice that shouts from underneath the bed, "Get out! Leave my house!" And I said, "No! If you're stuck here like you've been all these years, then you're going to have to learn to live with us, in peace or war, because this is my house now, not yours. You're dead. Leave already. Go with God, and go into that light." After 10 minutes of praying and arguing with this thing, it all just seemed to come to pass. I wiped the tears of fear from my wife's eyes and embraced her painful shivers. I, too, was frozen over by horror that level of us during that night. Nothing of that magnitude has ever occurred again, and our house stood silent for a while, for a year to be exact, which was very peaceful. The voices and scratching the walls and the ceilings, footsteps and disembodied voices eventually returned, but it doesn't bother us at all. We pay it no mind. It doesn't bother my daughter, nor my wife, nor I. We've just learned to live with it. I know the must sound strange, but this is my house, our house, and we intend to keep it that way. And thank you, Kenneth. Disclaimer, this story is not to be used by the way. Share your thoughts. Alright. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. That guy is homestruck. That is a crazy story. I will not lie. I couldn't even imagine going through all that. That was a really good one. That was probably one of the best ghost stories I've heard. But yeah. Alright, I'm gonna read you guys one more. I think I'll do a glitch for you guys real quick to end this. I started with a glitch, let's end with a glitch. Excuse me, I had to cough. I have to cough again, actually. Excuse me. I have a coffee. Cough. It's a little short. Let's go a little bit longer than that. Nope. It's a problem with glitches. They can be very short. Okay. Alright, I'm gonna go to my vault 1 second, because I'm not seeing any good ones. I think it's really long. I will be narrating this sometime in the future. Yes, it was a good... CSI Miami just got like all the jokes about it. I was trying to... It's like, yeah! Is the thing, and I can... Yeah. I liked CSI Miami. I mean, I liked CSI. It was interesting. Alright. So this is gonna be the last story for the night, guys. Because live reading won in the end. I'm just gonna get that poll. Alright. Hello Reddit. Long time no glitch until today. By Almost Jaded. Been a while. I'm still in the wrong universe. For anyone who doesn't know my old posts, I have landed in this place for a couple significant differences from where I was about 10 plus years prior, and I'm still stuck here. But I haven't had any glitches for many months. I even kind of stopped lurking and posting here because I kind of wanted to put it behind me. Couple little glitches I just let slide, just a couple of standard disappearing cars. A car came down a ramp very fast to my right on the I-15 one night, maroon current generation Honda Accord. I'm a car guy, I notice these things. Braked next to me when he was running out of lane, cut over 2 lanes behind me, accelerated and passed, and then there were no cars around me. Like, he hit my blind side and just vanished. I glanced around frantically for a minute and then just decided to tell myself it didn't happen. A couple weeks later, I'm waiting for my car to get washed and I see a bright orange McLean 570 at the intersection across the way. Not an incredibly rare sight in the neighborhood, to be honest, but I'm a car guy again, and it's a McLean. I think I'm saying that wrong, I won't lie. So I'm looking. Light turns green, car starts to go. All set to approach the sound. All set for the sound of the McLean V8 wail as he hits the freeway entrance ramp, and then there's no McLean. I honestly want to know if the cars next to it noticed or freaked out, but nobody stopped or anything. But like, it was bright orange. Kinda hard to lose in the crowd. 1 minute cars are accelerating across the intersection, the McLean is passing a dark colored Ford truck, and then there was no orange car. Just poof. And in both cases, I let it go. Of course. Didn't even come here to post. Just decided to ignore it. Maybe I turned out, or I didn't see it, or I know damn well non-existence turned or something. You know, just a standard run-of-the-mill glitch. But then there's a little issue of construction crews and concrete work disappearing. So here I am. Same car wash where I saw that 570 vanish. And it happened. Large large Chevron station with a car wash slash hand dry attachment. Always very busy. I have a discount monthly membership there and get my car washed a couple times a week. There's a main building slash convenience store with a gas pump to the front east of it, and north of the building is this place where you drop off your car and they vacuum the interior, and the automatic wash runs along the rear of the building, and the south of the building is covered with a waiting area slash dry lanes. None of that matters, just I'm painting a picture here. What matters is that along the front of the building, between the drop area and the waiting area, between the front door and the pump, is a sidewalk that goes from the front door that covers the walking area and some parking spaces. Pretty standard for a convenience store setup. Jutting out from the sidewalk by the waiting area, parallel to the drying and finishing lanes, is a secure section of the sidewalk that extends roughly 1 car length into the parking lot towards the pump. This is the boundary that separates the parking spaces in the front of the store from the hand-dry lanes. It's just a section of sidewalk about 4 feet across and a round edge at the end painted bright yellow so people don't run it over. There's always a little metal sign at the very end facing the pumps advising the monthly subscription rate for the car wash to entice locals to subscribe rather than paying as they go. I'm very familiar with this little extension because when it's chilly, like 6 weeks a year in Vegas, lol, I stand on it to vape while I wait for my car, as everything else has shade cover and there's sun there. 2 to 3 days ago, I was getting gas at the last pump in the line, and I saw the convenience crew had coned off the area around the sidewalk extension. They were tearing up the concrete, jackhammers and all, loading it into the wheelbarrows and carting it off. It obviously had been at it for a while, as most of the exterior was gone down to the bare dirt, and they were finishing up the last of the bits. I distractedly remember thinking, bummer, now I won't have my little spot to stand in the sun. I idly wondered if they were going to something underneath, pipes or something, or if they were being torn out to make room for another parking spot or something. I finished gassing up and left. Today I dropped off my car to get washed, and I walked out and waited, walking onto the little extension to vape and stand in the sun next to the little sign. Took about 15 seconds for it to sink in. What the fuck? Oh, they must have laid new concrete after finishing whatever they were repairing underneath. Duh, I looked down at exactly this, expecting brand new concrete and freshly painted curve to verify my thoughts. Nope. Old, stained, worn sidewalk, old, faded yellow paint, scuffed with tire marks and chips up from years of, from being there for years. The same sidewalk section curb I stood on 100 times. The same sidewalk I watched the guys in orange vests and hard hats tearing up and disposing of earlier that week. I say it's good to be back, but really, that's not what I'm thinking. And he's got a second story. So this happened. Summary: I witnessed a second of concrete. I've been back there a couple of times since I posted that, and it's been the same. Today I dropped off the car to get washed, got standing in my little spot, fresh concrete, maybe a week or two old, freshly painted edge from the only few marks on it, clean demarcations between the old clear difference between the old concrete and the new pour. Very obviously different in color and wear, right where it would have been expected with the work I had witnessed. At this point, I shouldn't even be surprised. Alright, And with that, that was the last story, guys. Oh, sorry, spook. So I hope you guys enjoyed those stories this evening. Just little bits of stuff. So I will be live next week. I might go a little bit earlier because I don't work next week. So this might vary. It will always be on Saturdays, but I might vary the times. I gotta just figure out what I'm gonna do here, because I don't really want to compete with other narrators if they're going live. But if I have to, I have to. So, thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I will see you next Saturday. I was gonna say Sunday. And you guys have a very, very good night. Take care, guys. Oh, and real quick, freaking see the concrete before it was finished? Gosh darn it. Okay, bye.